The city pulsed with life under the glow of its dazzling evening lights. Streets buzzed with people rushing, cars honked impatiently, and laughter spilled out from trendy cafes. Amid this vibrant chaos, Alexander Carter, a millionaire in a sharp suit with an air of confidence, stepped out of his sleek black car, known for its power and precision. Alex usually moved through life with calculated ease, but tonight something was different. As he surveyed the busy streets, his gaze stopped on an unexpected sight: a woman wrapped in a worn coat, huddled in the shadow of a building. She sat quietly, her tangled hair partially hiding her face, while the world passed her by without a second glance. But Alex couldn't look away. There was something about her, a quiet dignity that shone despite her circumstances, a resilience that spoke louder than the clamor of the city. Alex's polished shoes clicked against the pavement as he approached her, his heart pounding with an uncharacteristic curiosity. Little did he know this moment, this unlikely meeting, was about to change both of their lives in ways neither could have imagined. When a millionaire's world collides with the unexpected, an ordinary proposition can lead to an extraordinary transformation. Alexander Carter was a name that commanded attention, a powerful and enigmatic figure whose sharp business acumen had reshaped industries, while his polished public persona made him a favorite of the media. He was the kind of man who could sway markets with a single decision and turn heads wherever he went. Yet behind the immaculate suits, luxurious penthouse, and glittering reputation lay a life defined by hollow routines and shallow connections. Tonight, Alex faced yet another obligation, a high-profile charity gala brimming with New York's elite. But this wasn't just any event. With his very public breakup from a famous actress, the tabloids were hungry for a story. He needed a date, someone who would make an impression, someone who could silence the whispers and redirect the narrative. As he stepped onto the crowded streets, scanning the sea of faces, his thoughts were a mix of frustration and calculation. Then he saw her. She sat in a shadowed corner, wrapped in a worn, oversized coat, her head slightly bowed as if trying to disappear into the city chaos. People rushed by, oblivious to her presence, but Alex's gaze lingered. There was something about her, an air of quiet dignity that seemed unshaken by the hardships etched into her features. Her resilience was undeniable, her presence understated, yet profound. For the first time in a long while, Alex's carefully curated plans took a back seat to a feeling he couldn't quite explain. He took a step toward her, his polished shoes clicking against the pavement. What he was about to do would defy every expectation of his high society world and set in motion a story that would change everything. Approaching cautiously, his steps were purposeful yet measured. As he drew closer, the woman glanced up, startled by the unexpected attention. Her wary eyes met his, guarded yet piercing, as if she were trying to gauge his intentions. "Excuse me," Alex began, his voice calm but sincere. "I have a rather unusual proposition for you." She narrowed her eyes and clutched her coat tighter. "What kind of proposition?" she asked, suspicion evident in her tone. "I need a date," Alex said plainly. "For a formal event tonight. It's important, and I'm willing to compensate you for your time. $5,000, just for the evening." The woman blinked, stunned into silence. She glanced at her scuffed shoes, her mind racing. "This can't be real. You want me?" "Yes," Alex replied steadily, meeting her gaze. "You seem intriguing. It would make for an interesting evening." She let out a short laugh and shook her head. "I don't know what game you're playing, but I'm not interested." "Wait," he said gently, his tone softening. "I understand. This sounds strange, but I assure you it's genuine. Just a few hours of your time and I'll make it worth your while." She hesitated, eyes searching his face for any hint of deceit. Finally, she exhaled sharply. "How much did you say?" $5,000, Alex repeated, unwavering. Her hands trembled as she processed the offer. The thought of what she could do with that kind of money, food, shelter, maybe even a fresh start, was too tempting to ignore. She looked back at him, her expression a mix of caution and disbelief. "All right, I'll do it." Alex extended his hand with a warm smile. After a brief hesitation, she shook it. "Sophia," she replied quietly before she could second-guess her decision. Alex then escorted her to a sleek black car waiting nearby. Sophia sat stiffly in the plush leather seat, her eyes wide as they sped through the bustling city streets. Sitting in the luxurious car, Sophia traced the embroidered seams of the elegant gown draped over her frame. It was beautiful, too beautiful, a dress for a world she didn't belong to. Alex noticed her silence. "Are you okay?" She hesitated. "Why me, Alex? Why pick a stranger from the streets?" His brows furrowed slightly. "Because you intrigued me." Sophia let out a soft, bitter laugh. "You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through." Her voice lowered, her grip tightening on the dress. "People like you. You see people like me and either pity us or ignore us. I don't need either." Alex held her gaze, the weight of her words settling in his chest. "I'm not here to pity you, Sophia. I just want to know you." She turned away, watching the city blur past. But what happens when he does? When he learns everything? They soon stopped in front of an upscale boutique with gleaming windows displaying elegant gowns and luxurious accessories. Sophia's brows furrowed. "Why are we here?" she asked, confusion evident. "If you're going to be my date," Alex said with a gentle smile, "you need to look the part. Let's get you ready." Inside, a team of stylists descended upon her like a whirlwind. As they worked, Sophia sat before a mirror, watching as years of hardship seemed to fade away. Her tangled hair was transformed into soft flowing waves, and the dirt on her face was replaced with a subtle glow. Her worn clothes were swapped for a sleek, dark green gown that hugged her frame elegantly. When she finally stepped out, Alex's breath caught. He had expected her to look presentable, but she was stunning, poised, graceful, and utterly captivating. "You look amazing," he said sincerely. Sophia's cheeks flushed. "Let's just get this over with," she replied, though a hint of trust crept into her tone. As they left the boutique and stepped into the waiting car, neither realized that this wasn't just the start of an evening. It was the beginning of something far greater than either had imagined. The car pulled up to the entrance of the grand ballroom, its golden chandeliers glowing brightly through tall windows. Alexander stepped out first, radiating his signature confidence, and extended a hand to Sophia. She hesitated for a moment before placing her hand in his. As Sophia took a sip of champagne, trying to steady her nerves, a sharp voice cut through the din of the ballroom. "Well, well, Alexander Carter always has a way of surprising us, eh?" Woman in a crimson gown sauntered toward them, a smirk playing on her lips. She was a journalist, one of the more ruthless ones. "I must say," she continued, her gaze flicking to Sophia, "you always know how to make headlines. Tell me, is it true you paid this lovely lady to accompany you tonight?" A hush fell over the crowd. Whispers rippled through the elite. Sophia felt the blood drain from her face. Alex's jaw tightened. "That's none of your concern." "Oh, but it is," the woman pressed, her eyes gleaming with intrigue. "A millionaire hires a homeless woman for a gala date. Sounds like a PR move, don't you think?" Sophia's hands clenched into fists. "Is that all I am? A distraction? A novelty for his world?" She stepped back, her throat tightening. "I need to go," she murmured, turning on. Inside, the gala was a dazzling spectacle. The air hummed with soft, classical music, and the room teemed with conversation. Guests in designer gowns and tailored suits sipped champagne as waiters moved gracefully among them. As Alex and Sophia entered, all eyes turned their way. Whispers began immediately. "Who is she? She's not one of us." Alexander Carter always has a surprise, doesn't he? Clinging to Alex's arm, Sophia's unease was palpable as onlookers stared. "Let them stare," she whispered. Alex replied gently, placing a reassuring hand on her back. "You don't have to be anyone but yourself." Taking a deep breath, she lifted her chin and followed him into the crowd. As introductions were made, Sophia's natural sincerity began to shine, unlike the polished, rehearsed small talk of the elite. Her words carried a refreshing authenticity. When a wealthy couple asked her thoughts on art and philanthropy, she said with quiet conviction, "I think it's important to remember that wealth doesn't define character. Some of the strongest, kindest people I've met had nothing, yet they gave more than anyone I've ever known." The couple, taken aback at first, soon nodded thoughtfully, and others began to listen closely, their curiosity turning into genuine interest. Alex, standing slightly behind her, watched in awe. In a room full of superficiality, Sophia's raw honesty shone like a beacon. She wasn't playing a role or trying to impress anyone. She was simply herself. As the evening progressed, her confidence grew. She laughed at witty remarks, shared candid thoughts, and even challenged the overly polished opinions of some of the wealthier guests. Each moment deepened Alex's admiration for her. "You're incredible," he whispered during a quiet moment by the champagne fountain. Startled by the sincerity in his voice, Sophia smiled faintly, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "I'm just trying not to embarrass you." Alex chuckled softly. "You could never embarrass me. In fact, you've reminded me tonight what it means to be real." As the gala drew on, he found himself captivated by her every word and gesture. Sophia, who had entered this world feeling like an outsider, now stood at its center, radiating a quiet strength and grace that no gown or jewelry could create. Retreating to a quieter corner of the ballroom away from the constant chatter and watchful gazes, they sipped champagne and engaged in an unexpectedly intimate conversation. Sophia spoke candidly, her guard slowly lowering as she shared fragments of her life, the relentless struggles of surviving on the streets, moments of kindness from strangers that gave her hope, and the dreams she once held close. Sophia paced inside the small apartment Alex had rented for her. The past few weeks had been a whirlwind: dinners, galas, conversations that felt too real, too close. And then came the headlines, the whispers, the scrutiny. She had tried to believe that this was real, that Alex saw more than just an interesting story in her. But now, staring at her reflection, she knew better. She would never truly belong in his world. A knock at the door made her jump. It was Alex. "Sophia, don't do this." His voice was raw, urgent. "Don't walk away." She swallowed, hard. "I have to, Alex." He took a step forward. "Why?" Her voice wavered. "Because I can't be your charity project." His eyes darkened. "Is that what you think this is?" Sophia crossed her arms. "What else could it be?" Alex exhaled sharply. "I don't know how to prove it to you, Sophia, but I swear, you're not just a passing moment to me." Her heart pounded. She wanted to believe him, but could she? "I need time," she whispered. Alex hesitated, then nodded. "Take all the time you need. Just don't shut me out." "I used to love painting," she said softly, her eyes distant. "I'd spend hours creating, imagining a future where my art could tell stories, but life doesn't always go the way you plan." Alex listened intently, captivated by the depth of her words. She wasn't merely recounting hardships. She was baring her soul, unfiltered and raw. In her honesty, he found a perspective completely foreign to his polished, insulated world, a perspective that challenged everything he thought he valued. "You should paint again," Alex said steadily. "You have a story worth sharing." "Alex," she began, startled by the sincerity in his tone. "It's not that simple. When you're just trying to survive, dreams feel like luxuries. Alex's heart ached at her words, a stark reminder of the privilege he had always taken for granted. Their conversation was interrupted by an older man approaching. A former college acquaintance of Alex's, known for his subtle jabs and a smile that never quite reached his eyes. The man looked between Alex and Sophia. "Alexander," he began, his voice dripping with polite curiosity. "I see you've brought a unique guest tonight. Care to introduce us?" Sophia stiffened, her eyes darting to Alex, unsure of how he would respond. Alex's jaw tightened as his protective instincts kicked in. He placed a hand gently on her back and said firmly, "Sophia and I are very close." The man raised an eyebrow but quickly composed himself. "Ah, well, it's lovely to meet you, Sophia," he said, his interest clearly waning as he excused himself. Sophia turned to Alex, her expression a mix of gratitude and confusion. "Why did you say that?" Alex met her gaze, his voice soft, but resolute. "Because it's true. Tonight, I've learned more from you than I have from anyone in a long time, and because I won't let anyone make you feel like you don't belong." Her breath hitched, her heart pounding as she struggled for words. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as an outsider, but as someone who mattered. As the night continued, their connection deepened, and their conversations wove a bond neither had anticipated. What had begun as a simple arrangement was becoming something far more profound. As the evening wound down, Alex led Sophia to a quieter terrace just beyond the bustling ballroom. The city stretched out before them, its lights twinkling like 1,000 distant dreams, while the hum of the gala faded into the background. Sophia leaned against the railing, her eyes wandering over the skyline. "It's beautiful," she murmured. Alex nodded, though his focus was entirely on her. He had spent the entire evening captivated by her, and now, with the night nearing its end, an unfamiliar urgency tugged at him. "Sophia," he began hesitantly, "I need to say something." She turned to face him, her expression cautious but curious. "I thought this would just be one night," Alex admitted, his gaze steady. "A chance to deflect attention and avoid the scrutiny of my world for a little while." He paused, searching for the right words. "But you've made me see things differently tonight. You've reminded me of what's real, of what actually matters." Sophia furrowed her brow. "Alex, why would someone like you?" She gestured vaguely, as if his wealth and status needed no explanation. "Want anything to do with someone like me?" Alex stepped closer, vulnerability shining in his eyes. "Because I've spent my life surrounded by people who wear masks, who say what they think I want to hear. You're the first person in years who's been completely honest with me. You're not trying to impress anyone or fit into some mold. You're just you." Sophia looked away, her fingers tightening around the edge of the railing. "I don't belong in your world, Alex. I don't fit." Alex shook his head, his voice firm yet gentle. "My world is empty, Sophia. I've built empires, amassed wealth, attended countless events like this, and yet I've never felt more disconnected. Tonight, for the first time in years, I felt something real, and it's because of you." Her heart pounded as his confession left her speechless. Alex took a deep breath and lowered his voice to a near whisper. "I don't want this to end with the gala. I don't know what's next, but I do know I want to figure it out with you." Sophia stared at him, her thoughts swirling in a mix of disbelief, fear, and a faint glimmer of hope. She had spent so long guarding herself from the world, yet here was a man willing to step into her reality, not to change her, but to understand her. That night, she allowed herself to wonder if this unlikely connection could lead to something more. The gala was nearing its end, but for Alexander Carter, the most significant moment was yet to come. Standing in the grand ballroom, surrounded by New York's elite, Alex couldn't shake the realization that his life had shifted in ways he hadn't anticipated. Sophia stood beside him, still feeling out of place amid the opulence, yet carrying herself with a quiet strength that had captivated everyone she'd met. Alex glanced at her, his heart pounding with a certainty he had never felt before. The room buzzed with soft conversations and clinking glasses, but when Alex stepped forward and cleared his throat, the subtle action quieted the crowd, and all eyes turned toward him. Alex took a deep breath before kneeling in front of her. "Sophia," he began, his voice steady but full of emotion. "I know this is sudden, but I've never been more certain of anything in my life." Sophia's breath hitched. "I used to think my world was complete," he continued, "but then you walked in and proved me wrong. You made me see the emptiness in everything I thought mattered. You are what my life has been missing." Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. "Alex, I don't care about the rules, the headlines, or what anyone thinks," he said. "All I care about is you." Sophia hesitated. Her whole life had been about survival, about pushing people away. But Alex, he had fought for her. Finally, she smiled, her voice trembling. "Yes." And as he slipped the ring onto her finger, she knew. This wasn't just a new chapter. This was a new beginning. "Excuse me, Alex," Sophia said, confusion flickering across her face. "I have something I'd like to say," Alex announced, his voice carrying easily across the room. Her breath hitched as Alex turned to face her fully and reached into his jacket pocket. Then he sank to one knee. The crowd gasped collectively, and whispers rippled through the ballroom. "Sophia," Alex began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Tonight wasn't supposed to be anything more than a distraction, a way to escape the noise of my world. But you've shown me something I didn't know I was missing. You've reminded me what it feels like to be real, to connect, and to see the beauty in simplicity." Sophia's eyes widened, her heart pounding. In her chest, the diamond ring Alex revealed sparkled under the golden chandeliers, but her focus was entirely on his earnest, vulnerable expression. "I know this is sudden," Alex continued, his voice softening, "but I've never been more certain of anything in my life. You are what my life has been missing, Sophia. Will you marry me?" The room fell silent as the weight of the moment pressed down on everyone watching. Sophia's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears at the enormity of the gesture and the sincerity of his words. "Alex," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I don't know what to say. I'm just a woman from the streets. Why would you want someone like me?" Alex's gaze never wavered. "Because no one has ever made me feel the way you do. You see me for who I am, not for what I have, and that's all I've ever wanted." Sophia hesitated as years of insecurity surged to the surface, but when she looked into his eyes, she saw nothing but truth and love. Slowly, a tear slipped down her cheek as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. Her barely audible response was met with an eruption of applause and cheers echoing through the grand room. Alex stood and pulled Sophia into his arms, holding her tightly as his own eyes glistened with emotion. In that moment, Sophia felt something she hadn't experienced in years: security, warmth, belonging. For Alex, this wasn't just the end of a gala. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one he hadn't realized he was ready for until now. No. The months that followed that unforgettable night at the gala, Sophia's life transformed in ways she never imagined. Gone were the days of uncertainty and hardship. Instead, she used her newfound platform to give back to the community she had once been part of, becoming a passionate advocate for homeless initiatives through public speaking and charitable campaigns. Sophia raised awareness about the struggles of those often overlooked by society. Her sincerity and personal experiences resonated deeply with people, inspiring change. She wasn't just Alex's fiancée. She was a voice for the voiceless. Alex, once consumed by the pressures of his high-profile life, began to change as well. Embracing a new sense of purpose with Sophia's grounding influence, he shifted his focus from building empires to building a legacy that mattered, supporting her dreams and investing in meaningful causes. Their relationship became a true partnership. Alex brought his resources and influence, while Sophia brought her authenticity and determination. Together, they proved that love isn't about status or wealth. It's about connection, understanding, and shared purpose. One crisp evening, the two strolled through the city hand in hand, the skyline glowing softly above them. Alex glanced at Sophia, her face illuminated by the golden streetlights. "You've changed my world," he said quietly, his voice filled with gratitude. Sophia smiled as she leaned into him. "And you've shown me what it means to dream again." As they walked, laughter and warmth surrounded them, and their journey became a testament to the power of love to bridge even the widest divides. They didn't just defy expectations, they redefined them. The story ends not with a grand gesture or dramatic twist, but with the simple truth that love, grounded in trust and respect, can conquer even the most daunting barriers. Together, Alex and Sophia faced the future, ready to take on whatever challenges came their way, side by side. Sometimes life's most extraordinary moments are born from the most unexpected connections. Alex and Sophia's story is a testament to the power of love, courage, and compassion, a reminder that no divide is too great to overcome when hearts are willing to meet in the middle. Their journey shows us that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the depth of our relationships and the impact we leave on the world. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a little inspiration, and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting tales of love, transformation, and second chances. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.